Well, good day, Crypto fam. Hope everybody's good. So today we're shooting another, crypto video. Today we're focusing on Bitcoin, specifically Bitcoin mining. Now, those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that Bitcoin for me, still is the cornerstone for wealth creation, specifically so in the 21st century. In the centuries before, everybody was talking about the fact that real estate is the cornerstone for wealth creation. That was true. Maybe can still be true to a certain extent. But in this new digital world we're living in, I do honestly believe that Bitcoin should be the cornerstone for wealth creation, right? So now there's various ways for people to accumulate Bitcoins, and please do note that this is for educational purposes only, should not be construed as financial advice. I'm just simply talking about, from my standpoint, what I've done, what I do, and why I do what I do. So you could either buy and hold Bitcoin. In fact, as early as last year, 2024, January, I really went on a rampage on Facebook saying to people, guys, go and buy Bitcoin from as little as, I don't know, 500 Rand, whatever the case is, but buy Bitcoin consistently over time because it's actually going to go up in value. Now, at the time, Bitcoin is around $39,000 or something like that. And it is more than doubled from then up until now. So, I still remain and I still maintain the fact that Bitcoin should be the cornerstone for wealth creation. Okay. Now, one of the things I speak about is the fact that one, you can buy and hold, you can trade. I lost $48,000 in one night trading, or you can actually mine. Okay. And I tell you why I mine, Bitcoins, right? So, but before I tell you that, one of the criticisms that I've had people bring to me was the fact that so what happens if let's say I've got $500, right? And I want to buy Bitcoins. Now, what is more beneficial? Is it me buying Bitcoins for $500 now and hold for the next 4 years? Or is it me taking the $500 and renting computing power from companies like iMine and then gets more fractions of Bitcoin every single day? What will be the net effect in 4 years' time? Will I have more Bitcoins in that 4 year period or will I have less Bitcoins? If I'm going to have less Bitcoins, obviously, I would have been better off just simply buying and holding Bitcoins, right? Now, it's a very tricky one to answer because there's so many dynamics at play. Price of Bitcoin, how long it stays there, mining difficulty. There's just so many dynamics that are at play. But with that being said, I've always believed that you should be in a better position, right? If you actually mine. So, but let's have a look at an account that has been mining for a while now. Um, let's do this. So I've already logged into this particular account and I'm going to take you through what this particular account actually has. Now, if you go to my packages, right, you can see that it's a micro package. This person is renting 17 terahash back then because every time the amount of terahash you're buying per package or you're renting per package obviously varies, right? You can see the power consumption, you can see the cost of electricity, which was a bit high as compared to what we have right now. But the most important here is the date, right? It was the 23rd of April 2024. Awesome. Now, if we then go back and check on the wallet, right, we can see that this account is getting roughly what 56 cents worth of Bitcoins every single day on average. You can see, it moves up and down and so forth. Now, but what's the total? The total is now Bitcoins worth $458, meaning 0.003 Bitcoins, right? So we're going to talk about this in a moment. Now, what I did was I actually went to Grok. Let me share that. So I went to Grok and I said, if you bought Bitcoins, $500 worth of Bitcoins on the 23rd of April, 2024, how many Satoshis would you have received? Right? And then Grok obviously goes back and checks what was the price of Bitcoin back then and gives me exactly what would be the price, the number of Bitcoins I would have received. So in this case, you can see that the price of Bitcoin was 93,663,000 for one full Bitcoin. Therefore, for 500, I would have received 0.0053 something something, right? So this is what I would have received back then. Okay. Now let's go back to mining. How much have we received so far? It's actually 0.003. a little bit shy of what we've actually used to purchase. But in terms of a dollar value, we are sitting on $458. Okay. Now, the most important thing here is that the mining contract itself, right? The mining contract itself is actually 1,400 days. That's roughly almost 4 years, okay, of mining. And how long has this account been mining? It started in April last year. We are now in end of July. So it's been a little bit more than a year that this account has been mining, but it has actually almost breaking even in terms of the USD value. But the most important thing here is that this account still has another, almost 3 years that it still has to mine. So the question then I want to ask is, do you think that if it has done so much in a space of, just over a year, and it still has almost 3 years to mine, don't you think that it's actually going to have more Bitcoins that it would have mined over the same period? As opposed to buying and holding? That's just something for you to think about and probably do your own research on. But now let's take it a step further. If we take what is there right now, the owner and CEO of this exchange called Altcoin Trader, um, this guy says that the price of Bitcoin will eventually get to 20 million rand for one full Bitcoin, right? And we understand why that is the case. We understand that is actually a real possibility looking at what is happening globally, institutional players, and everything else around it, where Bitcoin is potentially going. Now, if I then put the amount of Bitcoins that this account is mined so far, okay? And then we say Bitcoin gets to, right now, we're saying that Bitcoin is what, 2.1 million rands. What happens if Bitcoin gets to, let's just say, 10 million rand? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that would be 10 million rand. So that means that this account would have generated what, 38,000 rands versus the plus minus 10,000 rand that was spent to actually mine this particular account. Okay. So what will the price of Bitcoin in the next 3 years? Right? And that's 2028. Remember, 2028, we have another Bitcoin halving. We have another reduction in the number of Bitcoin that are being mined, and therefore that is often always followed by price appreciation. So therefore, we know that the price of Bitcoin is actually going to go up over time as it's designed to do exactly that. Now, if Bitcoin gets to 20 million, right? If Bitcoin gets 20 million, then this account would have done 77,000 rands, without even taking into account what it still has to mine over the next 2.5 years. Now, with that being said, I do honestly believe that renting computing power and accumulating Bitcoin that way still remains a viable option. But then, of course, everybody's situation differs, right? So, based on your own personal circumstances, you can make your own personal decision. I honestly believe that Bitcoin mining still is a better option, okay, amongst other options that are out there. That being said, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you found value. If you've got any more questions regarding Bitcoin mining, how to get started, what is it, how it works, please hit me in the comments below. I will also leave an article from Coinbase, one of the biggest exchanges in the world, that talks about what is cloud mining and also remote mining services, and why is it that ordinary people can actually opt for that option for them to get access to newly mined Bitcoins, because most people cannot afford to put millions of dollars to build their own mining farms. Therefore, cloud mining becomes one of those viable options. Of course, you have to do your own due diligence, make sure that you're dealing with the right people who know what they're doing, who are not going to scam you, who are licensed or regulated. It's very, very important. That being said, thank you so much and God bless. Happy accumulating Bitcoins, accumulating other cryptocurrencies. Bear in mind that Bitcoin should be the cornerstone for your portfolio.